Welcome to the Horror Unmasked podcast,
where we unmask the monsters
and explore the lore.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Lily, and today we will be dissecting
A Quiet Place.
Let's shut the fuck up.
Almost 90 days into an alien invasion, a family of 5 silently sneak around a convenience store looking for medication and other supplies. The smallest child, Bo, wants to play with a small rocket ship, but gets told that it's too loud and they need to leave it behind. When the family heads back home, the boy's sister, Reagan, who is also deaf, passes the toy back to her brother and tells him to be quiet with it. While the family walks back in a straight line, following the path of sand to make their footsteps lighter, the rocket ship lights up and starts blaring loud electronic beeps and boops. The father, Lee, tries to run to his son to protect him, but it is too late. A giant creature comes bolting from the trees as Bo and they both disappear. Not gonna lie. I don't care how old you are. If you are old enough to talk and have functional thought, you should be aware. Don't make noise.
We're 3 months into this now. Come on.
Like, what the fuck? Like, you've been here. You've seen this. You know bad shit's going down. Maybe don't make noise.
Right.
All I'm saying is that kid had it fucking coming to him. He, swear to God.
I still blame his sister. What?
And that's understandable, but, you know, it also has to do
But
with
I'm also a little biased just because, okay, I probably wouldn't blame her as much if, like, I liked her character in this first movie, but her character in this first movie is kind of a brat.
Here's what I
can't
say.
deal.
In that instance, I do not blame her because she just handed him she took the batteries out.
Yeah, she took the batteries out.
And handed him the rocket.
Yeah.
He's
He
the
put
one
the
who
batteries
fucking
back
grabbed
in.
the goddamn fucking batteries,
That was
even
on
though he
him.
knew better.
That's on him.
So I don't blame her for it, for getting the toy back to him. I blame him for then knowingly still grabbing the batteries and putting them back in.
Yeah. I
And
blame the
getting
whole
his
family.
Killed.
I blame the whole family because, you know,
I agree.
they're walking in a straight line on
Mama,
the sand.
why you ain't holding?
Why you ain't holding him? And why is he in the back of the fucking line behind the deaf girl who can't
Because the
hear
dad's
anything?
carrying the sick boy.
Yep.
So why ain't Mama holding Tiny Man?
Tiny little baby. Yeah, Tiny Man. Right. He's in
Because
the
Tiny
back.
Man fucks up real fast.
And he's in the back behind
And
the
gets
deaf girl.
God.
So, like, no one's watching him.
Yeah.
He's just kind of back there.
Yeah.
Doing his thing. So I blame the whole family.
Tisk tisk, man.
For sure.
I swear. You're several months in. Come on. You know better.
Now, over a year into the invasion, the family prepares their farm for the birth of another baby.
Again, fucking mistake. I get that she was pre-existingly pregnant. But still.
Like, I understand how, you know, accidents happen
now
in
it's
this
a
instance
year
and you
over.
can't get into
I'm
it.
like,
Yeah. You know,
It's
there's no one really knowing about your pregnancy until it's already
like,
far
yeah.
into the pregnancy. So, I mean,
Yeah.
what you gonna do at that point?
Like, worst time to give birth.
Yeah. Lee takes his son Marcus to go catch some fish, where the pair open up about the incident with Bo. Marcus asks Lee if he blames Reagan for what happened and if he still loves her. Meanwhile, Reagan, upset that her dad didn't take her fishing, goes to Bo's grave to mourn him. Back at the house, so many things happening at once. Evelyn goes into labor. The pain
Yup.
causing her to lose balance, gripping onto objects in the house for support.
Oh.
Yeah. And she's just leaking all over the place. Water broke. During her struggle, a picture frame on the wall falls and shatters, drawing the creatures towards the house.
Ooh. This next sentence, my foot hurts just thinking about it.
Yeah. Trying to hide from the creatures, Evelyn goes downstairs, where she steps straight onto a nail that she had previously and unknowingly uprooted from the wood.
Ooh, God, the fucking pain. Because it's deep.
It's deep.
It's in like the thickest part of your foot.
It's like an inch off the ground,
Oh.
maybe a little more, and she just right onto it.
Straight, full. It's not even like a little bit was still left. No, full contact to the wood on the, oof.
I
Oh,
can't. I can't.
no.
I can't. How does she not die from tetanus? Anyway. Well, we still don't know. She could
True.
in a little bit.
We have no fucking clue.
Because it's only been, what,
Dude,
like,
they're fucking barefoot.
it's only been like a
Walking
week.
everywhere.
Right.
At this point, if their bottom of their feet are not like a brick of a callus,
Well, they're walking on sand.
I know,
That's not that bad.
but still.
Yeah.
Lee and Marcus get back to the house to find the warning system of red lights around the house that Evelyn has turned on to signal that she has gone into labor. Too bad it's not also a blinky system to say also I'm in labor and also monster in house.
Right.
Cuz
You gotta pick a struggle, guys.
you gotta have solid lights means I'm in labor. Blinky lights mean I'm in labor and there's a monster in the house.
Right.
That would have sold the deal.
Yep.
Lee goes to find his wife while he sends Marcus to set off fireworks to distract the creatures from the noise of Evelyn giving birth. As the fireworks go off, Evelyn finally lets out a scream as she delivers her baby in the bathtub. And that bathtub starts to like fill a little with blood.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
fucking scary. It's
There's blood
terrible.
all inside
Oh,
the
yeah.
bathtub.
Oh, yeah.
You know for a damn fact that's gonna be in the HHN house this year. If it's not, what are you doing?
That would be wild. Marcus finds Evelyn hiding in the shower and takes them back to the barn in the soundproof basement they created.
Somehow, it's only covered by a mattress, but
Soundproof.
I guess.
Mattress.
I guess.
The thing that stands between you and all of the fucking monsters is a mattress. Oof. That's terrifying. Do you think that they actually would do that scene of her, like the bathtub? They would have to.
Yeah. For sure. They're
Because
gonna
of
do
how,
that.
like, obviously we're going to get the fireworks and like that kind of shit because of how like crazy ass that whole moment is.
Oh, you for sure are gonna get the bathtub scene, like her in the bathtub giving birth while a creature is probably like lurking around the corner.
Oof.
Which
Like we're going to
I'm-
get like the shadowy like
maybe the
figure
shadow.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how they're gonna actually create the creature for the house. But
That's going to be so fucking cool. Anyway,
If you
because that
didn't know-
creature is fucking intense.
yeah, and if you didn't know, HHN this year is doing Quiet Place as one of their houses. So
Yeah, it's very exciting.
one of my favorite
Exciting.
franchises. Like besides Conjuring, like this, golden.
It's very cool. Very
I love
cool.
it so much.
I can't wait for the sound design of this house.
Yeah. Yep.
It's going to be wild. The creature still lurks around their home as Marcus is trapped, hiding in the cornfields. Reagan finally makes it back and finds Marcus. Together, they go to the top of the grain silo to light a fire and signal their dad that they are hiding there. Spoiler warning. Skip ahead.
The siblings run out of lighter fluid and try to go back down, but Marcus falls into the corn kernels as a panel in the roof of the silo collapses from underneath him.
How your legs not break?
I don't, because he fell into corn.
Yeah. He fell into corn.
I don't know,
Like
man.
a silo full of corn.
I don't know, man. Reagan follows after him, and the siblings use the broken panel as a kind of rescue tube to stop them from sinking into the kernels. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The noise draws one of the creatures to them, but as it gets closer, the hearing aid that Lee gave to Reagan begins to emit a high-frequency feedback noise that seems to hurt the creature. The creature breaks out of the silo and runs away, as Marcus and Reagan head back down to find their dad. The three of them try to go back to the barn, but the creatures are too close.
The children run to a truck where Lee begins to arm himself, but gets attacked by one of the creatures. Marcus screams, causing the creatures to then go after the kids. In a noble sacrifice, Lee tells his children that he loves them and screams, causing the creatures to shift its focus back to him, killing him. The children go back to the basement of the house where Evelyn and the newborn baby are hiding. Since the basement of the barn got flooded by one of the creatures, Reagan finds her father's work desk covered in books about the human ear and different hearing aids that he had been working on for her.
So if you think you're crying over his death, boom,
Yeah.
they hit you again.
Oh, yeah. One of the creatures comes downstairs as Reagan uses a speaker to blast the high-frequency sound, crippling the creature as Evelyn shoots it in the head.
And then a bunch more come at them, and then, you know.
Mm-hmm. The end. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible story.
Yeah.
Personally, I love it.
Fucking John did a goddamn banger up a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie was released April 6th, 2018.
I remember
Yeah.
going to watch this movie. There was like 7 of us
Mhm.
going to watch this. It was like freshman year of high school, I think, for me. And we all hopped into a tiny car, sitting on top of each other, going to the theater to go
Yeah.
watch this. And it was like the most chaotic thing in the world. And then we all get to the theater and we're all just sitting there trying to open up our Twizzlers and eat them so quietly. But it's hard, man.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a very high school.
Mm-hmm.
thing
And we
to
were
do.
all about to get out of school. So we were like, yeah, let's go have some fun. School's almost out, guys. Let's go.
All right. I swear. The director is John Krasinski,
Yes.
our boy. Story by Brian Woods and Scott Beck.
Also, John Krasinski a little bit.
Yeah, and John Krasinski. Distributed by Paramount Pictures. I do actually have their budget and box office. So their budget was $17 million,
Mm-hmm.
and their box office was $341 million,
Yeah.
which is really good. Very good.
Very good. So for this movie, it's only an hour and a half,
Which is
on the
wild
dot.
with how much happens.
It feels like it's a little longer, to be honest,
but it
but in a
doesn't.
good way. Like I like it because I need
It doesn't feel. It doesn't feel crowded or fast paced.
more. Right. 96%.
Hell yeah!
On Rotten
Well
Tomatoes.
deserved.
Yes.
Well deserved.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. I think that's like one of the highest ones we've
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, it is.
And there's only a kill count of about 4 people.
Yeah.
So what we didn't talk about, obviously there's Bo in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 people in the middle when Marcus and Lee are coming back from catching fish.
It's like an old lady and an old man. Like the old
So-
lady's already dead, and then
The man can't handle her being dead, so he screams to attract the creatures
Yeah.
just to end his life as well.
yeah,
And so Lee and Marcus just have to book it.
and hide behind a tree.
Yeah.
Um,
And then obviously Lee at the end.
yeah. But it's a pretty tight ass cast list. It's a pretty short ass cast
Yeah,
list.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
this is like one of the shortest ones we've had.
Mm-hmm. You have Emily Blunt
Mm-hmm.
as Evelyn, John Krasinski as Lee, and they're married in real life. If you didn't
Yep.
know,
Yep.
Who doesn't know that though? I mean, come on, icons, legends. We have Millicent Simmons as Reagan, Noah Jupe as Marcus, and then Cade Woodward as Bo.
Yep.
And then obviously you got the old man and the old lady.
yeah.
Other
But
than
they're
that-
more as like secondary.
Yeah, they're only in the movie for like a minute.
You want me to go first? Yeah. I got like a fuck chuckle ton of notes for this one, which is nice. It's nice to know that I was able to get a decent, because sometimes with moderately newer films,
It's hard.
it can be really hard.
But it just goes to show like how much thought and planning and effort went into this, and like
Yeah.
so good.
Especially come our next one, I was very surprised to find as much as I did.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, it's probably because there's also already like a foundation for
Yeah.
the series as a whole.
And I feel like, in general, more modern films, people know that they know that we want to hear about the behind the scenes stuff and all that kind of stuff. Because in the before times, it's so hard to find information about certain things because they just didn't think it was important. And I was like, what are you doing?
Right.
I need to know all of the things.
All the things.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, you want to go first?
Yes.
Alrighty.
All right.
Since I got thick ass notes.
Very thick. Okay. So, John Krasinski,
Yes.
director, God, father, husband, decided that he wanted to make a horror movie for grown-ups, exploding the genre by eschewing gore, deploying silence as an instrument of suspense, and focusing on familial love. So after reading Beck and Wood's script, Krasinski pitched his own version of the story to Blunt, to his wife, who suggested that he direct the film. He's like,
Why don't you direct it?
just direct it.
Yeah.
So then in a meeting with the producers, Krasinski expressed his desire to co-write it and direct it and pitched them his vision.
Yeah.
So Woods and Beck came to Krasinski shortly after Emily Blunt gave birth to their younger daughter, Violet. And then their firstborn, Hazel, was 2 at the time. So Krasinski, as a new parent, was terrified that he might not be able to protect his children, and then saw the potential for this horror story.
Horror story?
Horror story.
Horror story. That's a whole other movie.
Yeah, that's X movie.
Yeah.
Potential for a horror story anchored in, this fear that he can't protect his kids.
Yeah.
So he revised the script to amplify that fear, and of a family trying to survive in a world where alien creatures with heightened hearing attack the slightest sound. So, hence forming the tagline, if they hear you, they hunt you. Krasinski was also to play the dad, obviously. And then he married Emily Blunt in 2010, and they had always been cautious about collaborating in a professional sense.
Yeah.
Because they're both actors.
It's like favoritism kind of mentality. Yeah.
But Emily Blunt read the script and she said she had this overwhelming feeling of, I don't want anyone else to play this part.
Yeah.
It's me
Yeah.
and him.
Yeah.
And me and him.
Yeah.
And that's it. But then Krasinski said for the first time he wanted to put his entire self into a movie, and that he had studied horror films, noting every single music cue, tension beat, or jump scare that had worked on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he did his fucking research.
Good.
He also, beforehand, he'd
be a lot of fun to go see movies with.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because he doesn't like horror movies. He said they freak him out too much. But he had directed 2 movies prior to this, so he was still relatively new to like the directing scene, because he's mostly actor first.
Yeah.
There were 2 movies that kind of inspired him. It was There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men.
Gotcha.
Which went quiet in certain scenes, and he said that there was a power to that, and a confidence that he wanted to put in this movie. And in Quiet Place, there's only 90 lines of dialogue, where the rest of it they're talking in sign language.
Yeah.
Because obviously, their daughter's deaf, so they all know sign language, which is great.
Yeah.
If you need to live in a world in
a post-apocalyptic, silent, deprived,
and you need to communicate but don't know how.
Yeah.
So
That's
get you some sign
ASL
language
books.
Yeah. So Krasinski went all in on the production details, and he went on Zillow to find the perfect farmhouse in upstate New York. And he dressed the house with like private photographs of himself, Emily Blunt, and their actual children.
Oh wow. That's kind of fun.
So, recalling a junior high lesson about medieval villagers lighting fires down a coastline to warn against incoming threats.
Yeah.
Which is very smart. he had his crew string the lights on the property to stimulate that alert system.
Yeah.
And even stood in for the aliens on set before they were added digitally.
Yeah, I have a little bit of that.
You have a little bit of that. So to help Emily, Noah, and Millicent, who play his, not play his wife, that is his wife, but who play his children, so that they could react to them more authentically. When Quiet Place premiered in front of like 1,200 strangers, Krasinski said that he was really nervous about this film specifically, and that the 2 previous films he had directed, he didn't really feel that sense of nervousness.
Because he like really cared about like the success of this film.
Yeah, because he said he put himself into it and he worked really hard on this script. And I remember researching this a long time ago before researching it now, and just how much effort he put into it. And he really wanted it to do well. And when it premiered, he said that people stood up and made the craziest noise, and that he'll never forget it because he looked at his wife and she was yelling, "Oh my God," but he couldn't hear her because the cheering was so loud.
Yeah.
And so he almost burst into tears and just gave her the biggest hug ever.
Yeah.
It was so cute. But one of the big inspirations for this film for Krasinski was the movie Alien. Obviously,
yeah.
I mean, they look pretty similar as well. And
they have a similar vibe, but they look. It's like
it's
two evolutionary different versions of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the aliens from Alien, and then also like a Demogorgon from Stranger Things, like mixed into one.
Instead of them having their gross mouth shit, it's ear shit.
Yeah. But that's all I got. Cause in the next episode we do in day 1, I'm going to talk more about the creatures themselves.
Oh yeah, that's 100% save that for that because of just all the shit that we learn.
That happens and what we learn in the next one.
Oh yeah,
so I'm going to save all of that for the next episode.
Yeah, I have mainly stuff about just like
the making of, which I love. Give me behind the scenes.
Alrighty,
right now.
I got it. We're going. It's happening right now. Okay,
buckle in, guys,
because it's thick. All right. Visually, the scenery is bucolic, staged in upstate New York. The cinematographer Charlotte Bruce Christensen also shot the movie on a 35 millimeter film instead of digital.
Oh.
And the result is a movie that comes across as less crisp than a digitally enhanced action film.
Which, honestly, I prefer it like that.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's more nuanced and softer. And then lanterns in the dark basement, a muted palette of decaying fall leaves, and the fading colors of an abandoned town appear natural, balanced, and more lifelike than what you would typically see in a saturated, overly bright 4K film.
Right.
So basically, filming it on that helped add this like
more realistic,
dampened feel to it.
Yeah, that as well. I like 4K movies now. They just feel too.
Like, I'm okay with them when they're implemented well. Like, I will say, like Avatar stuff. Perfect for it.
Yeah, things like that for
vibrant,
sure.
Beautiful, crisp, clean, fantastic.
But I love a movie that feels more rooted in reality because of like the camera that it's shot on.
Yes.
Like personally, like going back to like the Hunger Games type. I love the cameras that they shot for that. It's just I mean, I don't know.
When we get to it,
like a post-apocalyptic thing filmed on just
so when we did the gallows, I liked that the cameras didn't feel like they were like
super high quality
for
found footage.
Like it felt like they did it on a phone and then it swapped to like maybe like a mildly like camcordery quality, like a higher, like a slight higher, but it still felt found footage. Whereas the second one was definitely more movie.
Right.
You know, so I like I think that's also why, like, going back and watching older films, the older, like, the originals of the, like, Halloween and things like that,
For
and
sure.
Friday the 13th and stuff like
and
that,
Scream.
because the visual style of the camera is
Yeah.
so different.
And I prefer it, to be honest.
So it's
Like, it feels way too theatrical now. Like,
and honestly,
I get
it depends.
HD and I get high definition, but that is, like, kind of overboard.
Because day one was fucking stunning.
Oh, for sure.
So it depends on how you implement it and what the story's based on.
Yeah.
So, but
It was stunning, but again, I think I would still prefer,
for this specific film, the mindset had a lot to do with keeping it practical because they did not have a big budget. Because it was only 17 million.
That's still a pretty big budget.
But compared to it, like, price of special effects stuff and doing CGI on any level is
Yeah.
pricier. So essentially they wanted to keep it as practical as they could.
Right.
And then essentially Scott, if they needed to, would come in and tweak it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the effects, the practical effects, were just as a reference so that it could be done digitally. But sometimes when it had a lot to do with the fact that they wanted to be able to see it happen.
Yeah.
So one of the things is the unfortunate, we're about to talk about it, when Emily fucking steps on the goddamn nail. So they went to
My toes just
curled,
the bottoms of my feet just
like twinged. Yeah. So they went back to actually an old school way of doing it with a retractable nail. It's like a retractable, like a fucking those toy swords.
Nice.
It's like that. So when she stepped on it, it would sink into the wood, but when she would step back off, it would come back up. So essentially what they did is, like, they had that as the practical, and then they would go in and,
CG
tweak it a little bit, give it a little bit of
more in her foot.
Yeah, exactly. Give it that, like, blood, the little bit of,
Zhuzh it up a
visual
bit.
feel to
Yeah.
it. So they went a lot with that kind of sensation. And I mean,
sorry, my feet are still recovering.
so even when the safe room in the basement flooded, they had to build a set that could actually hold water and control the height and temperature of the water.
Yeah.
And keep it flowing and filtered and clean.
Yeah, clean's important.
Yeah. So essentially people see that sequence and think, oh, they flooded a basement. But everything had to be built to design.
Yeah.
So that was essentially another cost-saving thing that they did, because usually when you have a set with water in it, you build a large tank larger than the set and then build a set inside it and flood it that way. But what they did is they had space. They had, they didn't have the space or the money for that. So what they did was incorporated the walls of the set as the walls of the tank. So, and then the art department dressed them up, painted them, put stones over the walls that held the water.
It looked great.
Yeah, because what they did is they filled the water with food additives to darken it because that's safe for people.
Safe for people and also creepier.
Yeah. And then talking to the set dressing team, they picked paint and varnishes for the walls that wouldn't leach out into the water. So it was an effort for several other departments as well. And then the filtration system was just like that. What you would have is like a pool kind of filtration system.
Right.
But they had to pipe everything outside the set because they couldn't have any noise on set. So they had to be able to filter it away. And then obviously they added a little bit of chlorine in it just to keep it clean. So it was a pretty hefty thing.
It was a swimmable pool.
It was a swimmable, murky pool.
Lovely.
But you want to know what was the wildest thing to hear? Guess what was the most difficult thing to do in the film?
The corn.
Yep.
Ah!
It was the corn.
Yep.
So, because they spent a lot of time researching and testing and testing and testing again.
Yep. How did I know?
Because they had to
genius.
come up with something safe for the kids.
Yeah.
So they had to use real corn
Yeah.
because of this close-ups on it. Because they fall into the corn, they sink into it, they go under. And they're moving around in the corn.
Did they like test this? Like, is that actually what would happen if you fell into a vat of corn?
I see.
Would you really sink into it?
I have no idea.
Let us know if you've tried.
I know, right? Let's see if any of you have ever fallen into a corn
Vat of
silo.
corn.
So,
Did you get corn powers after?
what the fuck would that be?
Did you turn into a scarecrow?
You know?
I don't know.
I don't know. So the safety rig they had to build for it
Mm-hmm.
was complicated.
Yeah.
It took 4 people to operate it.
Wow.
And it was the biggest challenge because they had to keep it safe and make it look good.
Which they did.
So they had to build this rig. Essentially, it's like a latex balloon membrane. And it has a hole.
I don't like those words together.
And it has a hole in it that the kids can poke through.
Okay.
So, and then obviously they have the corn lying on top of that. So the latex itself isn't strong enough to support all the corn.
Well,
There's about 12 inches of corn on top of it. And it's obviously very heavy. So there was a floating rig that could support all of the corn with a hole in it that the kids would go through. And the latex was like a gasket to keep the corn from falling through
so when
the
her
rig.
hand is like coming through, it's just her hand. So she's just down here breathing like,
Yeah,
yep,
exactly.
I'm chill.
Exactly.
I'm chill.
So he's done quicksand rigs for actors, and so it was a very similar thing. But the difference is that the material they usually use was really light.
Yeah. Not sand. Or not corn. Sand.
So they attempted to do it the traditional way, which is similar to the quicksand. But when they tested the latex membrane by itself, the corn was so heavy that it weighed down and tore it.
Oh.
So that's why they had to build the support system underneath it so that they would be able to get the same kind of visual feel like a sand trap, essentially. And then Scott did all of the monster stuff where you actually see the monster. So when the monsters are attacking the pickup truck in the movie,
Yeah.
it's the people were actually making the truck move around and were breaking the windows and doing all the creature work, what they would actually be doing in the environment. So the truck is bouncing and getting hit around. And then Scott Farah would come in with his team and add in the monster afterwards. So a lot of the creature effects were really challenging to pull off, as the mannerisms of the species had to be conveyed within close quarters, including how they sprint or attack. Even the opening of its face was a tricky design feature that had to be refined until it looked just right. And to capture the essence of the scene in the most organic way, director John ended up playing the creature.
Yes.
So he had to put on a mocap suit.
Hold on.
Yes.
Just imagine in that like ending scene when the creature's like coming down the stairs and then you've got Marcus holding the newborn and then you've got Emily and
he's just trust me.
And he's just
Yes.
creepily like going down the stairs like, what up, y'all?
Seriously, it's I put on the mocap suit, which was Scott Farah's idea.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the one standing there in a way too tight suit, making roaring like sounds for the actors.
I'd be laughing, not screaming.
But it ended up being that Scott and Industrial Light Magic put the creature in. Because figuring out how he would move through the room to get to the final gunshot,
Yeah.
and they basically, they painted the creature in over him.
Oh, so I clocked that immediately.
So it was
Yeah.
100%. He is rawr.
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 Oh my god.
Like,
I just
he's
imagine him
standing
like
in. Yeah, exactly.
just slinking around the room, all creepy like.
Oh yeah.
That's incredible. Go, John.
All right. So that's the end of my notes for A Quiet Place
And then we go into A Quiet Place
2.
2.
So
Which
I have their summary, the little summary for it, which is: following the deadly events at home, the Abbott family must now face the terrors of the outside world as they continue their fight for survival in silence. Forced to venture into the unknown, they quickly realize that the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats that lurk beyond the sand path.
Okay. So,
Yes.
in this film, we have a couple new cast members,
Mm-hmm.
including Cillian Murphy
Yes.
as Emmett, and then Jimon Honsu
Mm-hmm.
as Henry,
Yes.
who is a man on the island.
Yes.
You don't really get to know his name until later.
Yeah, until later, yeah.
But he's known as Man on Island.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
film, very good.
It's very good. It's a good sequel to it.
Very much. I was sitting there wondering, like, how on earth are you going to live without the gaping hole of Lee and this father figure
You bring in new
for
daddy.
this family? You bring in new daddy.
You bring in new
Correct.
daddy.
Who also happened to be a previous family friend.
Who literally was the dad's friend
Yeah.
and had kids and family of his own.
Mm-hmm. Lost all of his family.
Lost all his family.
Whereas you have this other family who just lost the father. So then they kind
and
of...
a kid.
And a kid as well. But I mean, like...
They mainly are pretty
but
much
the family's
intact.
still there. Yeah, pretty much, mostly.
Because the second she was like, wait a second, you're you.
You're Emmett.
Where
You're-
the fuck have you been? Like,
you-
I'm surprised you're alive.
Like, Lee lit fires on top of the things all the time. Did you know it was him? And he was like, yeah, I did. But,
Yeah. He was essentially so broken by the loss of his family that he kind of was like...
he doesn't trust anyone anymore. 'cause
Including the friends.
that he used to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it 100%. That movie turned hard. I know that it came out, I think... Hold.
2020.
No, wait. No. I'm trying to check something real quick.
Okay, well, you looked that up. But basically this... okay, there's one thing I really want to talk about because it's so insane. When the family is leaving their farm and they run into this steel mill where Emmett is staying, they're just running. Evelyn, like, knocks some bottles or, like, there's a tripwire that causes some bottles to fall, so they have to start running away from the monster, and they run so fast, and then poor Marcus.
Oh! It is such a visceral fucking scene.
Runs straight into a fucking bear trap.
Oh! And the fucking screams that emit from his mouth.
Are
Like, and it's the...
otherworldly.
It truly sounds like
He is in pain.
screams. Because it's not like, kind of like, acty screaming. It's like a young boy
Who is
got horrifically injured. It's
Mutilated.
the high-pitch squeal scream. It's not this, like, downplayed. It's the
No.
pain.
I was clutching my pearls.
Severe.
It's like hard.
And then...
Oh my gosh.
And then this movie took a hard turn into The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Because The Last of Us came out in 2013, the game.
The game.
And so this movie went, let's now make it The Last of Us, but with a different monster type.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
So
it then transfers into, because it's who was the first one who left? It was the girl, right?
Reagan. So Reagan, okay. Emmett has a radio, and it's been playing a song like "Cross the Sea," whatever.
Yeah.
And so Reagan's like, "It's a message. Nobody wants to go help me. I'm gonna go broadcast this frequency.
Yeah.
And if nobody's coming with me, I'm gonna do it by my fucking self."
Because isn't it that she figures out like this song is being emitted from a tower that's coming from an island.
So she, and it's like one of the last places that her dad had like not checked.
Yeah.
For people, and like at the farm they couldn't hear that radio message because it was too far out of reach, whereas because
that's what Emmett said, because it had to do with like the valley. It was
valley.
only emitting as far as the valley.
So it didn't go to them, to the farm. So
we're just like, God damn it, if y'all were just a little closer, if y'all were a little closer, you would have gotten it.
But she ends up going out by herself, and Evelyn has Emmett go get her and bring her back, but then Reagan convinces Emmett to stay and like keep going, because Emmett was saying like, I couldn't do enough for my family, and Reagan was like, well, now you can do something for everyone.
Our family and everyone.
Our family and everyone.
Yeah.
So he helps her go on this adventure and to go to the island, which ends so terribly. They can't swim, but they can hop on a boat and float that way.
Yeah, the monsters cannot swim at all.
Yeah.
But, a boat that just is loose floating towards the island, they can hop on that fucker.
Mm-hmm. So when they get to go emit this radio, get the frequency through the radio, a monster happens to get on this island where everyone has been safe for a very long time.
Yeah.
Including Henry, man on island. And Henry helps them get to the radio station to then broadcast this frequency. And we don't know what happens after that.
Yeah, because he gets, like, quote, visually, we see him get dragged off
Henry,
by the monster.
We see Henry get dragged by the monster, but we
don't see him die.
And if you want to go by horror movie rules,
it means that there's a chance he's still alive.
Because if you don't see, no body, no death.
No body, no death. That's even video game rules.
Yep.
Is how it works.
Yep.
But yeah.
So, and then they broadcast the frequency. They kill one of the monsters, and then ... Who knows what's to come?
Yeah.
There will be a third installment to this.
Yes.
These two movies.
As a
finale.
Well, of now 3 movies.
Well, so I'm saying there's Quiet Place 1, 2, and then there's going to be a third one following those two stories, but there has been a prequel that has released now.
Yes.
Quiet Place Day 1.
So I'm curious what they're going to call, because it was a Quiet Place 2. So I wonder if they're going to give it
3.
Well, no, they might give it some other name, since this was
Quiet Place finale.
The final days.
Yeah, maybe.
It could be something like that. Since they made a Quiet Place Day 1.
Mm-hmm.
So since we didn't in this movie, we only got like a little bit of Day 1 in the second film.
Yeah.
Is essentially just the initial shit.
But from this family's perspective, not anyone else. So it was just what happened to them when it all hit, and coming together and just going home and figuring things out. But very good. Yeah. So we go watch both of these movies.
Yeah, they're very good. They're very good.
But now we have some notes about those.
Yeah.
Not those. I can't speak.
About A Quiet Place 2.
Yeah.
So it mainly is visual effects and things like that. Nothing super, super crazy. But so it's the Day 1 of The Quiet Place 2. So essentially the scenes that we get when the monsters initially attack
their hometown.
Yeah. Their small little town and everything like that. So
where everybody knows each other, apparently.
Yeah, because there's a scene when Lee exits his car to discuss what's happening with the police officer before a creature smashes into the police vehicle.
Yeah.
And then we follow Emily Blunt's character, Evelyn, as she's driving through the mayhem
I love this. I love this scene so much.
in a single uninterrupted shot.
Yep.
So before crashing into a bus, for which emerges one of the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Both
Terrifying visual, by the way, because it looks like someone is just driving the bus, and then all of a sudden the creature comes through the broken window.
But here's the
like,
thing.
What up?
Both of those moments are played as oneers. So both of them.
And you know me. If you know one thing about me,
Yeah.
I love
One shots.
one shots.
Because it required a lot of careful choreography during filming to execute, and then meticulously visual effects work, industrial light and magic, to pull off the final scenes. So in the first oneer, Lee is seen inside his own vehicle with his daughter, noticing a police car coming up behind them. He exits his vehicle, chats to the officer when a creature smashes into the car, like I said, and into a shop, with Lee running back to his vehicle, all in one shot.
Yep.
So the tricky part here was that the police car had to drive up, and then it's got to be mounted on a device that slips it into the building. So outlines production visual effects supervisor Scott Farah, the special effects riggers overseen by special effects supervisor Dan Sudik, had to come in and drive the real cop car out and put in the fake one on a flipper unit.
And it's all in one shot, so you got to do that
It's all one shot.
quick.
So that rigging change overtakes about an hour or so.
Wow.
So everybody's got to just wait. And
So
then
it's
when
not actually one shot, but it is.
It is one. Yeah. And then you've got to realign the camera. So there's a cut there, but it's an invisible cut.
It's seamless.
Yeah. So, and they had to do a wipe with the cameras going from part A to part B. So they chose to do the wipe while John is sliding out of his car under the watchful eyes of ILM, visual effects supervisor Jason Snell, and animation supervisor Rick O'Connor. The ILM crew would then stitch together the plates, paint out any part of the frame that shouldn't be seen until they needed to be seen, and paint out parts of the rigging of the car. So the studio also, of course, crafted the CG creatures and integrated it into the crash for that dazzling moment of chaos.
Very dazzling. Very
And
chaos.
One after another, we segue into the next oneer
Yep.
with Evelyn and her son in their car. So both of those scenes are one shots.
Yeah.
So following along as she makes her way down the panicked street, including past one of the creatures, a smashed up bus coming right for the car forces Evelyn to quickly reverse. And we see...
Which,
yeah,
car skills on point.
for real. And
I
we-
would have not made it that
no
far.
way in hell. I would have already crashed into something.
Yeah. Yes.
Because we see a creature emerging from the front of the bus as the car
It's
smashed.
so scary because it's focused on Evelyn and you can see the bus in the background and like
because she can't see it.
she can't see it, and so the creature's kind of blurry as it comes out of
You see like the hands.
the hand.
kind
Yeah,
of-
the hands come out of the front. And it's like, ugh.
Oh yeah. And then they mention that as because the idea with that scene was that the audience at that stage doesn't know any more than what Emily's character and the kids know in the car. So adding to the intrigue and suspense about what might happen. So to orchestrate the stunt, production rigged the car, a Volvo Buck Pod with no wheels, on a low trailer platform. It's a motorized platform, all electric, so it makes no noise. The driver actually sits up on top of a big framework of rigging that sits on top of the Volvo. And then there's a driver up there, and he's in control of the car, and she just mimes driving.
That's funny.
So inside the car, a series of camera rigs were employed,
She
including
did great.
a CMOCOS, which is camera motion control system, a robotic arm that could be pre-programmed with specific moves to slowly move around and show the action. So it stuck to the top of the Volvo and could pan around and look everywhere. So there's a camera team and grips and a stunt driver backing everything up around the street, but Emily's there alone, just getting a real good stunt ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's just up there having a little bit of fun. And then, so there was even an airbag gag that was rigged to simulate the bus hitting the car.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened to make the camera break. A moment that was kept in the shot because it happened to go closer on blunt and fit the mayhem of the scene.
Nice.
So ILM was then called upon to seam together missing parts of the car's roof and craft the creature shots in this oneer.
We love happy accidents.
Oh, hell yeah. Because here Farah says that generally they didn't rely on any practical creature stands-in or stuffy. So here's what it is. Here's the thing. And I will mention this again in the next one. A stand-in is known as a happy. That was used for some of the shots in the film. However, on the first film, they had a stunt actor in a green or blue marker suit, and even John dressed up in that. But in this second film, everyone was kind of familiar with how to do it. So they would use someone or something for composition for the camera operators. But most of the time, they shot it clean with nobody in there. Ultimately, the street driving scene came to be via a massive collaboration of stunts, practical, and digital effects with 2 days of rehearsal and 1 day of shooting.
Dang, that's fast.
And they did 2 really good takes, and then basically it was which one did they like more.
Mm-hmm.
And so the one that they liked the best was the one that was in the movie, because they got so close to the bus. It's much scarier. So yeah. That is all of those notes for number 2. But yeah, it's definitely fascinating to kind of think that in that movie they made 2 full one-shots, which is pretty wild.
Right.
But yeah, that's my notes. So you got 1 stars?
Good notes. I do have 1 stars.
Already.
3 out of 3 of us found this film BORLNG.
Borling?
And pretty poor. I know you meant to say boring, but
I know you meant to say boring, but you maybe... I don't comprehend how often these reviewers are like, let me just type something and not read it back.
Because they're like, what a waste of my day. Let me just... A simple premise. Alien creatures. Looking very familiar. Which set were they borrowed from? Hunt by sound. They cannot be heard if there is background noise, i.e. a river or waterfall. So why not live by the river and have a normal conversation? But no. Repetitive killings ensue. Why, I ask myself, would anyone get pregnant and produce a screaming baby when you know certain death awaits you? Really? Bad enough giving birth under normal circumstances. Quite honestly, I am appalled at the low quality of films of late that are given good write-ups by all the media. Oh, another wasted evening. Not to talk about the money. Mercifully, not too long. Sticking to Sky Atlantic and Netflix for the time being. You know this movie ended up on Netflix?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
3 out of 3 people. Shut the fuck up.
Like, okay. That's 3 of you.
Okay.
96%. What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not even gonna justify any of that with more comments.
Yeah.
Next. Do's. Build a proper soundproof room. Live near a loud noise. Create a constant loud noise. Put thick carpet down. Don'ts. Have a baby. Leave loads of stuff everywhere on shelves and tables waiting to be knocked over. Waste loads of electricity. Have wooden floors in your house. Leave your wife and baby in a clearly flooding basement.
Okay, number one, the basement wasn't flooding when he left.
Right. I guess it's because, like, the pipe was broken. They would be like, you couldn't see that? The aliens don't make any sense. How could they get to Earth? How did they navigate? They make a clicking noise as if to be mapping with sonar, yet they only respond to direct sounds. When they run towards sounds, they would always be running into things. De tree. De truck. De wall. De stupid film. The way the kids are sinking into the grain doesn't make any sense. It's grain, not quicksand. I was very conscious of my popcorn.
Okay. The monster is sound-based, but anytime anything made sound, they would smash themselves into it. Like, to say that they would be, like, yes, they did throw themselves into everything. Because anything that made sound, they throw themselves at.
Right.
Literally. And I mean,
like, it didn't matter. It could be something, like, it could be a fucking meat grinder and they'd still throw themselves into it.
And the idea
they can't see
of them being like, the whole point is that you don't want to make loud noises. So the sentiment of being like, live by a loud source. Yes, that makes sense. Like, if they lived by the river or waterfall, yes, that would make sense.
But they don't live there. There's no house near there.
But also,
what would they do? Live in a tent?
Also say, make loud noise.
Yeah.
Is stupid. That's just drawing them straight to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not logical.
I do agree with the not putting carpet down on the wooden floors, and then also, like, the leaving things on the shelves.
Yeah.
And the
there
walls.
should have been, like, a better process for that.
Yeah.
But also, it's only been so long since everything happened.
Yeah.
So there's still the mindset,
like, it's only been just
of
a little
normalcy.
over a year, so they're still trying to live as normal life as they possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, shit, they had fucking paint stripes on the floor of the wooden floor,
Marking where
so
they could
that
step.
they could know where they step. So yeah.
I love when they're playing Monopoly with, like, little cotton balls.
Yeah, little fabric pieces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super cute.
Is that everything?
That's all I got.
Alrighty.
I wish I could talk more about this because it genuinely is one of my favorite, like, movie series for horror.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I mean, we will. We will eventually.
Next episode.
And then whenever the future movie comes out.
Yes.
So our next episode is A Quiet Place Day 1. It's very exciting. Very good movie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We watched it in theaters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we'll tell you more about that
on that episode. You can send us an email at horrorunmasked@gmail.com. You can follow us at Instagram and Twitter, X, at horrorunmasked. You can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, and YouTube at Horror Unmasked Podcast. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to ask. Will you fear?
Or will you fear not?